Alright guys, so it's no secret that Ferrari have had a bit of a championship crisis over the last decade and a half. The last time a Ferrari driver won the Drivers' Championship was in 2007, and it was Kimi Raikkonen in his first stint with the Scuderia. Since then, the team hasn't had near the amount of success they were used to, and if it wasn't for the team name and what it means to Formula 1, a lot of fans today would find it hard to believe that this team is the most successful team in F1 history. But before we continue with the video guys, I just want to ask you all to do me a quick favor and consider liking and subscribing to this channel if you do enjoy this video at any point at all. I want to start making more videos on this channel regularly and actually make something out of it. And for that I need you guys to help me out. But with that out of the way, back to the video. So obviously, being the most successful Formula 1 team, Ferrari have achieved some pretty ludicrous things in their 75 years in this sport. One of the most impressive feats has been their time with Michael Schumacher back in 2000 to 2005, where they won 5 Drivers' Championships and Constructors' Championships in a row. That was a first for F1, and quite frankly, it was what you could expect from a team like Ferrari. In 2004, Ferrari made the Ferrari F2004, and today, that piece of machinery is recognized as one of, if not the greatest race car ever made. Although it really depends on who you ask. In the 20-race 2004 F1 season, the F2004 crossed the finish line first on 15 occasions, and on top of that, it racked in 30 podiums between Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. It is now considered one of the most dominant cars in F1 history, and back then it was just another car and season for Ferrari. But now, that is definitely not the case anymore. The last time Ferrari were fighting for a championship other than this year was in 2019, where they basically cheated to get their car on Mercedes level. And still they failed. They had Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc driving for them that season. Really clearly one of, if not the most competitive driving pairing that season. And they weren't even close to the championship. So I think it's very clear that the team was at fault. Fast forward to the start of this season, Ferrari had a very competitive car. They recovered from the 2020 pit they dug themselves into and now had a very decent car on their hands. With Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz behind the wheels of the cars and a very poor start to the season by Red Bull, their closest competitors, it was looking like a championship could very well have been possible this season. In fact, fans were beginning to worry that we might see Ferrari dominate so hard to the point that the season would become stale and boring. That is of course up until Ferrari showed what their true form this season really looked like. Starting in Monaco, Leclerc's home race, Charles was leading until the team called him in for a ridiculously bad strategy. Of course, Charles, being a team player, came into the pits on command and lost the opportunity to win his home race. That would be a defining moment for Ferrari this season, and from then on it was all downhill for Ferrari. They continued this form and completely fumbled what has been their best opportunity to win a championship in years. This usually wouldn't be the biggest issue if it were in the middle of an F1 era. The next season they would usually have a somewhat similar car, and so would other teams, giving them another shot at the title for the next season. But the problem here is that with the new regulations this season, Ferrari managed to start off strong but end on a very worrying note in terms of car performance. The issue with that is, at the start of a new regulation period, some teams will ace the regulations and build a fast car in the first season, such as Red Bull and Ferrari this season, but in the next seasons, other teams inevitably catch up, and that's when things begin to settle. Since the Ferrari car started off quick this season and ended off quite a bit slower than the Red Bull, I think that shows us that Ferrari aren't very good at upgrading what they've got at the moment. So what I'm saying here is, I think teams like Mercedes, Alpine, and maybe even McLaren can catch up massively next season using the information and data they have now from this season to build a much better car for the next season. Think of it this way. If Ferrari couldn't beat Red Bull and Verstappen when they had a massive edge over them initially, what makes you think that they can compete again against them next season on more level terms with other competitors like Hamilton and Russell added into the mix as well? Short answer is, I don't think they could. Or not in their current team state anyway. The truth is, I think Ferrari have ruined their best shot at a title in years. And although they have had a good car this season, going by the fact that they haven't improved it much throughout the year shows that they very well may not have a championship contending car for next season. Which ultimately means that Ferrari's time to shoot for a title may be up for the foreseeable future. Of course, I'm not ruling them out completely though, because nobody truly knows what will actually happen next season. For all I know, next year may actually be the season Ferrari see the championship trophy again, but going by the recent Ferrari trends, I find that highly unlikely to be the case. And so that's why I think Ferrari will once again go through a similar phase as 2020 again. Maybe their car won't be as bad as it was then, but I do think the likes of Mercedes will have caught up next season and beat them in the constructors' standings. I mean, just look at the current constructors' standings. Mercedes are way closer to Ferrari than they should be, considering how bad the Mercedes car is compared to the Ferrari. If they had closer spec cars next season, I have no doubts that Mercedes would be ahead. But that is of course all just my own opinion, guys. If you have anything to add or just want to say something, please do so in the comments below. It really helps out with the algorithm. If you did end up enjoying this video at any point at all, please consider liking and more importantly subscribing to help with the growth of this channel. But really guys, thank you all for watching, and on that note, I hope you all have a blessed night and I'll catch you all next time.